This is controversial.
I know. Hashtag unpopular opinion, right?
Yeah,
Don't
do
focus
tell
on it.
more.
So I wanted to caution that just because it looks seemingly simple, it's a hard thing to pull off.
Today we're going to be talking about, are the niches in the riches, or the riches are in the niches? And why are some people leaning more towards being a generalist? That's why we have Maiko Sakai, a business strategy consultant, helping visionary entrepreneurs to achieve a highly profitable business. And I'm going to give you a chance to introduce yourself, but let me just read this juicy bit. She serves her clients, whom she fondly calls grounded go-getters, to shift from operating a transactional business to a transformational business. Thank you so much for being with us today. And I want you to just say hi and let us know all about everything you want to share.
Well, thank you so much for the lovely intro. And hi, everyone. My name is Maiko Sakai. And as Linda said, I help service-based entrepreneurs declutter their businesses so that they get to free up their time while making more without a drawn out trial and error process. So that's in a nutshell. Other than that, I was born and raised in Japan and I'm based in New York right now. And that might change. We'll see. we'll see about that.
Well, I have some questions for you. First, I'd like for you to define niche and what it means for a business owner, because I think there's some debate about, like,
Yeah.
is that really a niche or not?
Mm-hmm. I know a lot of times people do talk about finding a niche or niche. I take a different approach, to be honest. It is about really gaining more experience in your business, and it's something that pops up as a byproduct. So the niche is, if I have to define it, that is going to be your specialty that makes you special. Especially for service-based business owners, they are not really selling goods. I know I'm stating the obvious, we're not selling lipsticks or a pair of sneakers, we're not doing any of that. We are providing our expertise. But this expertise can be very vague for many people who are actually needing help. How are you framing it? What is your approach? What is your methodology or framework? That could be the niche that's tied with your sort of like a true North Star as a business owner. As a business identity. That doesn't have to represent your entire personal identity, but while you're in business, you have your own identity, right? One way or another. Is it aligned with what you are providing? If the answer is yes, I would call that a niche or niche.
If I'm understanding you correctly, what you're saying is someone's personal brand could be its own niche, or how you align your brand with your business products or services. Is that what I'm hearing? That
Yeah,
could be.
that's one way to go about it. So,
Okay.
this is really not about like plugging what I have, but I do wanted to use it only because that was the whole purpose of me making this quiz. Well, I do have two quizzes. The first one is, what is your impact creation archetype? As a business owner, how do you deliver your expertise to whom? And this quiz will tell you that, to see whether more of a personal brand person, or you could be sort of like you have this mass appeal, right? And be relatable to the masses. That's a different category. Like I have 4 different categories, and I can go over them very, very quickly just so that
Yes,
you get
please.
the idea, right, of what other things are there. So just as I said, you are your own brand. I call it my way all the way. I
Mm.
share my journey, my experience, my story. That's
Mhm.
a category. Another one is a crowd pleaser, who tend to sort of amass this mass appeal naturally, which I don't have. I'm the opposite of that. Now, the opposite of that is called acquired taste. That's another
Oh,
category. That's me. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I
okay.
get to be hated by a
Yeah.
group, or I get to be adored by another. It's just the way we are. The last one is a community builder. It's different from a crowd pleaser. They're like uplifters. They don't put themselves first, and they just kind of go for their mission. So there are 4 different types. And
Mhm.
you can really craft your niche from there. But I also have another quiz to really dig deep into it. That is more of an assessment quiz. What is your niche archetype? And it is more based on the marketplace, the market that you may or may not be targeting to, and you will discover all of that. So that's another one. That's the second step, second quiz.
Yeah,
I
that's
wonder what
so
yours would be. You know what my guess is? Like I'm right, with one exception, which is also a wonderful story. So I get to be wrong and right, and I get all the benefits of it. But I think you are my way all the way, but I could be wrong.
okay. Question number one: where do you see most business owners struggle in their business?
Yeah, that's a juicy one. So I'm sure you have your own answer and see if they match up. To be honest, like I wanted to think about my own mistakes. And I think the first thing that came to me, deciding, setting priorities for the right things in our businesses,
Hmm.
to me is, especially in the beginning when you are kicking off, starting out with your business, it's a hard thing to do because we are all sort of a hardwired to be a good employee in any organizations. A lot of things that we're hardwired with wouldn't work in the world of entrepreneurship. So, for example, we are told not to make any mistakes, because if we keep making mistakes, we might lose those consistent paychecks. So we're afraid of making mistakes. And that doesn't work in the world of entrepreneurship. We have to actively make mistakes so that we get to see what the next steps are. That's like the example that I use over and over again. And also like not being told what to do anymore, which is a great feeling, but simultaneously then now you need to step up and craft or design your day, your week, your month, your quarter, and you're not paying close attention to it, and you don't run a time audit, for example, you might be spending loads of time on something that's not really generating revenues.
I have to tell you, this is going to be a clip that I grab because you're talking my language about mistakes.
Yeah.
I mean, I love this take and I might steal it, but I do have to say it differs a little bit for me from what I've seen, but only because I've been in the
Okay.
financial services industry. My background forever insurance as a licensed broker, and
Yeah.
only in the past 5 years I deviated from anything that had nothing to do with insurance. So my experience with business owners is that they're mainly very disorganized from what I've seen, right?
Right.
They work, what's the in your business versus on your business?
Yeah. So, in your businesses, you're actively like working on projects, like dealing with clients, front facing, all of that. On your business is acting as the CEO of your business, right?
Right.
Really looking at this bird's eye view of your business to see where's the weakness, where is a lack of a redundancy, for example, all those things. Actually, we're not disagreeing with it. I think it's part of it,
It is
right?
part of it.
Yeah.
But I do appreciate so much what you say, because my newest not yet released project is all about mistakes. It kind of warms my heart that you get it, right?
Yeah.
I think with what I saw during the pandemic with the business financing, and besides the dysfunction of the SBA, but because so many
Right.
business owners were declined because they didn't have the proper documentation, or they didn't know how to fill out the form. They didn't know that 1099 contractors
All
are
the back
not
end stuff.
employees. Yeah. So it was all the back end stuff. It's apropos you would have that perspective because you are a strategist.
Yeah.
Whereas as a person who was helping with financing, to see that your forms aren't, you don't even know
Incorrect.
where
Yeah.
your SS4 is. People are too busy. They're busy in
Yeah.
their business. So, and that's where you come in
So
with
they are
strategy.
actually prioritizing something that doesn't really move the needle. Granted, understanding where your SS4 is, and understanding what your EIN is, and all the articles of incorporation, all those things may not be sexy to you and may not be bringing revenues immediately. However, though, as the CEO of your business, you need to be owning your command center. I do have a blog post on that one. You need to be owning your command center. You should be dangerous enough for all areas of your businesses. And for that reason, yeah, if you don't have a grasp on that, that is a problem. And you may have to shift your priorities a bit. Just as you said, Linda, working in your business is crucial, especially in the beginning until you delegate them out. But until then, yeah, okay, part of it is that, but you need to be working on your business as well. So yeah, we agree.
This is not a scheduled question, but to your point of, well, I don't have time to do that because I'm so busy in my business.
Yep.
How does one overcome the busyness in business when you have to kind of balance both, right? You have to have the strategy, you have to execute, but you have to like do the not sexy stuff. So how do you see, like, how do you manage that with clients?
Oh gosh, I'm so glad that you're asking this question because it's such a good segue question to the rest of the stuff that we're going to talk about. I ask this question to a lot of business owners and they just go crazy because they don't know why I'm asking it. But if you are to find the best pizza joint in town, how do you go about it? What's your strategy? Granted, you have to sample all of those pizzas, you gotta eat, but what are you going to be ordering?
I'm from New York, so you ordered the plain pie.
And that was the answer, and that was the answer that I was sort of like leading people to. But why? But why? The why is the important part. I wanted to see if in your own words, you would explain the reason why, other than you are from New York.
Yeah. So how does it relate to?
Yeah. So let me explain. So my answer is that if I were to find the best joint in my town, then I would order the simplest form of pizza there is. So yeah, cheese slice or margarita or whatever you want to call it, right? Or a slice, aka, from New York. If you say a slice, that only means plain cheese pizza.
That's right.
That would be your measurement tool. So you don't go to joint number 2 and order something else. You are going to go, all those joints and order the same pizza, right? Because there's nowhere to hide. It's the simplest form, and your business wants to look like that versus looking like a supreme pizza. In order for you to make a supreme pizza, you may need peppers, Italian sausages, pepperoni, olives, broccoli, all those things. What if any of those are missing? It's not going to be your supreme pizza. It's hard to produce. So if your business is disorganized in that sense, you're kind of creating a supreme pizza, not a cheese slice, you're going to have a hard time really managing it all. Let's just say that your margarita pizza or cheese slice, it works efficiently. It's easier for you to forecast what's coming up, right? Or how much you need to make, or how much your business needs to generate, and what are the ingredients. It's so simple to understand it. Then you'll have time to work on your business, and then maybe you can expand it. Maybe you can delegate some of the work, all those things. So that's why this analogy was related to that question.
If your niche is a plain pizza,
yeah,
right? But then people, like, they do want stuff on the pizza. They want the accoutrements. And all of a sudden, are you going out of the niche? Are you now going general, where now you can have choices? And by the way, I think that's the fear of the niche, of not having choices.
Absolutely yes. Absolutely yes. Let's dig deep on that one. So let me clarify the difference. When I was talking about these pizzas, supreme versus simple cheese, I was only talking about someone's business as a whole. So I wasn't really talking about niche itself. Counter to that argument, though, not to make a slice of pizza, fine dining or anything. Just because it looks simple doesn't mean it's made simple, though, if you think about it. What if this particular joint really care about the water that they use? Right? Maybe it's got this specific mineral content, amount of salt. Where is the salt coming from? Is it sea salt or rock salt? Just because it looks so simple, but it does the job and it delivers phenomenally, then that is your recipe. That is your ingredients. So I wanted to caution that just because it looks seemingly simple, it's a hard thing to pull off, by the way. You got to have this craft, you got to have a confidence, and you have to have a courage for you to be able to pull that off.
I'm making a banner for it. So with craft, confidence, and courage, is this part of the strategy that you assist with implementing when a business owner is flailing or scrambling around with their own ingredients?
Yep, absolutely. It doesn't have to be, I always say this, simple doesn't mean easy. Making something very simple takes a lot of work and, again, craft, confidence, and courage to stand on its own. So I think that you did mention, the one of the things that people are afraid of is to become boring. That's one of the reasons. Absolutely, yes. Another reason is the fear of actually doing the work because it takes a lot of work. And I also say this, like usually when I introduce myself and like in real life, when I go to a networking party or I don't know, like a mixer or whatever, I open from a statement or a question. I don't talk about myself. All I say is, most of the business owners romanticize the notion of simplifying their businesses. They all love the idea. They buy it, most of the time, but they're also secretly terrified of doing it. So these are the two out of many other questions many other fears that they would have that they don't even recognize. They don't even know that they have those fears or concerns or, worries about those things. And I can counter every single one of them. It's not going to be boring. It's a lot of work. I hope you're ready.
Yes.
But the
Yes,
once you
indeed.
have it, though, it runs. It's predictable, right? It's forecastable, if that is a word. I don't know.
It is now.
Forecastable. A funny thing is that a lot of business owners always say they want more predictability in their businesses, but that this is the kind of work that we kind of have to do to get there.
It's a bit of a contradiction, isn't it? It's sort of like when you fantasize about marriage and then all of a sudden, you're wanting to not hang out on a certain night because it's like, I see you every day. Can we not hang out tonight, please? And it's like people would love to not be alone at night. I mean, maybe not the best example, but
that is a pretty good example that I would think, because we have our own ideas about certain, concept or tactics or strategies or status. That's another big one, obviously. So the marriage is a great example of that. Everybody longs for something like this, but once you're in it, you realize there's a lot more to deal with. Is that really what you wanted? Maybe you didn't realize. So those are the things that are, again, like sort of going back to the first question about the struggles, that we don't see any of those things a lot of times. Why are we feeling so heavy? Maybe this is not what you expected, but it could be great. Where do you determine to keep going or walking away from it? There are a lot of things that happen in the business. So I was really looking forward to having this conversation with you just because we talk real. And that is something that I want anyone who's watching this to take away from it. It's so nice to see the motivational quotes or the sound business advice on social media. Those things are sounding good and sounding right. And I'm not sitting here on my soapbox to criticize those things. No. But the thing is, though, if we don't talk real about what happens, how we feel, what we face, I don't think there are many outlets or channels or distributions, over the internet that actually do that. So we are really talking about something real here.
Well, from professional experience as well, having been a generalist in insurance, even though in the insurance business, it's ripe for niching opportunities. Financing business, we didn't have to, but we elected to go the path of super niching down because when we were doing
Right.
business financing, we were so general. Like we would do a deli and then we would do a car dealership. It was all kinds of different products and services being sold and all different kinds of financing.
Yeah.
But then the pandemic hit and the
Yeah.
banks shut down. They all went to the PPP loans and we were
Yep.
out of business. So we pivoted to just share information on what we were learning about the EIDL loan, economic injury disaster loan. And so to the point of niching, we were so niche that we got our system down and it was so replicatable. Is that a word? That we didn't even have to think about that part. All we had to think about was the communication and exchange with the customer because
that is a good example.
All the onboarding was set.
Yep.
All the paperwork that we had to deliver.
The same. The process is the same.
It was the same.
So you were making cheese pie after pie after pie.
Exactly.
So you didn't have to sacrifice quality or your standard, your integrity. You get to, maintain all those things while you're running it. That's the beauty of having a niche. But the downside to it that, that you have a story about is that once it ended, so EIDL portion of it, and once it ended, well, there was no more. So you didn't think twice, you and the Trevor didn't think twice of it, that you just shut it down because it was the end. A lot of times business owners worry about something that they shouldn't be worrying about at that point, that given time, is that if that happens, pivot. That's fine. Redirect. I mean, you're not, nothing is set in stone. It's your business. You get to do whatever you want with it. So if one niche closes its door, then we'll open up another one. So just don't make it a big deal. Discovering and identifying one is more important than anything else. Don't worry about other things.
To worry about it in the moment, it's too late. Like there's whether it's debate or conversation about when you start a business, do you have an exit strategy in some form or fashion? Like we knew it was imposed upon us that we had an exit strategy because the program was going to end. So we planned accordingly with our budget, with our savings, etc. But if you're worrying about something that you know is going to happen and you didn't plan for it already, it's over, right? Or not over.
Right. Yeah, no,
but
you're right about
too
that.
Late.
I want to say something else about it, though, is that what I'm talking about is that's an actual planning, right? That's a strategy. So you absolutely have a point on it. What I'm pointing out is that sitting around and worrying about it and doing nothing is the problem. Because a lot of times many entrepreneurs do that. I don't want to niche down because, and they come up with all sorts of reasons that they shouldn't be really worrying about. They're not there yet. Once they pick one, then they work on it, they operate on it. Then, of course, you're going to think about exit strategy or how you're going to evolve. Are you going to sell it? Are you going to close it down? Whatever. Sure. Absolutely. You're absolutely right about it. So I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying that, listen, don't sit around and fight for your limitations or fight for your excuses or fight for your worries and fears and not doing anything, because that's what happens to a lot of business owners.
That's quite gorgeous. But I do want to challenge you on another.
Okay, I love it. I love it.
On another impromptu question. When does someone decide that it's time to pick a niche or to pursue a niche or to scrap other things that they've been selling or providing? How do they know?
So here's my answer to this. It really depends on your situation. I don't want to sound like a lawyer or anything, but let's come up with a hypothetical, typical entrepreneurial journey for someone. If you're starting out, it's not the time. It's just very simple. I'll keep it very simple for everyone. If you're starting out, don't worry about this. Don't worry about finding a niche or discovering a niche or, anything at all. Make sure that you go through all the experiences that your business provides. Ended up working with bad clients, ended up, having to wait for being paid for months and months and months. Those are part of the experiences. You need to gain experiences, both good and bad. Until then, don't worry about thinking about a niche. It's just not the the right time. But once you have enough experience going through working with many clients, many businesses, if you're B2B, if you're B2C, many customers, all of that, you will know which direction you want to lean towards. Just be intentional, listen to yourself instead of filling up your head with lots of chatters. Sit quietly and really listen to yourself. Then a path will start to show up after you have enough experiences. So I can't put a time frame on this one. Some people may take 3 years, some people may only take 18 months. I wouldn't know, but focus on gaining more experience, client facing to running a business on back end to all those things. Then you will start to realize my capacity limit is right there. I can see right in front of me. If I hit that, I can't make more money. There's only 24-hour a day, and I need to really refocus on something that works. That is the time for you to start thinking about discovering your niche that is profitable. So that's the telltale sign. That should be a sign for you to start considering it. But until then, don't worry about it. Now, after that.
Are you reading my brain? Because was this going to be after that?
Yeah,
Okay.
sure. After that, you're going to have some experimentations. Don't expect that you're going to hit one that is going to, make you happily ever after kind of thing. You do have to experiment a bit. Is there a really market for this? To do that, you will look back and see what worked, what didn't, and what you would do differently. So there's a bit of a work to be done, but that's part of the process, right? I also call this the messy middle part. Sometimes you don't know where you're going, but you actually have to trust yourself to move through with that. It's a bit of a purgatory area, you may call that a little bit, because you don't know whether it's going to work out or it's not going to work out. The only thing you have is the trust that you have in yourself and the commitment that you make to your business, right? You go through with this, then you can systematize or automate or delegate, however you want it to do to make it easier to make your pizza pie perfect each time without sacrificing, your standards or your integrity or, your quality, all of those things. But then that can come to an end, just like yours ended, right?
Yeah.
But then you can look at it to be like, well, this is a perfect opportunity for me to, I don't know, really reassess what's more important in your life. And you may come up with completely different ideas. That's okay. It is up to you. But don't think that it's going to last forever either. But so long as this will carry you through or carry your business through anywhere from, 3 up to 5 years or so, then you have time to contemplate on it or strategize on it. I mean, you can do all of those things. But what's really great about just knowing your niche is that you will feel rewarded running your business. So if you're in the wrong niche and you're forcing yourself to do it, then that Gay Hendricks book, what was it? The Big Leap, I guess, you're just in your zone of excellence. You're great at it, but that's not your zone of genius kind of thing. So yeah, so those are the challenges that you may face.
That's fascinating. The zone of genius versus the zone of excellence.
Yeah, those are the
They're
tricky
different,
parts.
aren't they?
Mm-hmm,
Right?
mm-hmm.
They are very different. One more question before I let you go. And that
Awesome.
is, of course, it's the last question because it's the biggest tip. Do you have a biggest tip? And what is it? Because we all want to know.
Well, I would say I have a suggestion. Maybe this might be a thought-provoking idea that you may want to think on it, and you can disagree on this because I'm not here to say I know everything about running service businesses. That's not my shtick. But here's something that I would suggest. It's a little bit different. Don't focus on productivity.
Oh, whoa, this is controversial.
I know. Hashtag unpopular opinion, right?
Yeah,
Don't
do
focus
tell
on it.
more.
Well, let
Okay.
me explain, right? I will give you an example to start. Back in 2015, I was trying to lose weight. Not in a drastic way. I just didn't feel comfortable and I felt tired all the time. So naturally, I would look for, which diet to pick up on, or whatever, just solely focused on weight loss. Productivity is like focusing on weight loss. And there's another way to approach it. How I got to be able to solve that problem of weight loss wasn't doing any diets or any weight loss, joining any weight loss programs or anything like that at all. I just really observed how I eat and how I feel and what's my relationship with food. And what ended up working out perfectly was doing an intermittent fasting. I didn't even think about it. I was too busy during the daytime to figure out what to eat for lunch and what to eat for snack and all those things. And time just went by, and it was the easiest thing that I've ever done. And I ended up losing weight. So the losing weight turned out to be a byproduct. So productivity can turn out to be a byproduct if you focus first on being and not doing. How about that?
That's a beautiful ending. Before we wrap up with all of these beautiful insights that I cannot wait to share with everybody, please, besides the fact that when I remove this banner, your name and website are there, how else can people find you? What else would you like? Any parting thoughts for the business owner who's too busy focusing on productivity and all the things we do?
Exactly. Well, just get to know me first. Visit my website. And once you get there, it'll give you, the quiz options and play around with it. Read up on some of my blogs and see if you resonate with them or you don't, figure it out. Again, as I said in the beginning, I am an acquired taste. I'm not for everyone and I'm not expecting to be. So test it out. And usually I hung out over Twitter. I know it's not the best or most sexiest or whatever social media platform, but it works for me and I hang out over there all the time. So if you like to do that, just join our conversations.
I love your Twitter. Your blogs are very on point. And I love how you concise with the tweets and expound with the blogs, and it's all like juicy, realistic, no sugarcoating it kind of intel. So highly recommend it. Cannot thank you enough for sharing your time with us today and your thoughts and
it's
suggestions.
been so much fun.
And we'll have to do it again. I hope.
Oh yeah, of course. I was the one who stalked you. That wasn't the other way around over Twitter. So just remember,
Hold on 1 second. Trevor, what are you doing?
That's the whole blooper part, right? So, I was kind of hoping that I was going to mess up massively, but I don't think I did funny enough. I don't know, use whatever you got.
Certainly Trevor is a walking blooper. So I love talking with you, and I can't believe we haven't done this sooner, to be honest. Truly.
I know. When you asked me, I was like, yes. So, yeah.
I was so happy. I mean, I know we've been on Spaces. I also knew you were recording them, so it was it was for public consumption.
Bring that back. I need to bring that back. Yeah, I archived them, so they're not lost. So, I need to go through with that.
I haven't seen you go live. Because I have you on notification.
We can even comment on what we said before. So we're like two small frames at the bottom or something, and we have the audio and the quotes.
And lots of B-roll on audio only kind of stuff. So it's
you're good with it. I know, totally.
Addicted to it, and it's not exactly the part that generates revenue per se, but it's kind of
you never know, but those things are the ones that people love and remember, so they have a place for that, really. It's just hard to quantify it or looking at a data or something. It absolutely adds a ton to your marketing effort, for sure.
Wait, okay, you can take that out. Maiko Sakai.
Where are we right now? Why do I feel busy all of a
You're
sudden?
such an old man. Thank you again. I can't wait to have more conversations with you about business owners, struggles, challenges, opportunities, strengths, and all the good stuff in between. Thanks, Maiko.
Thank you for having me.